been introduced to me and have a solid grasp of what this course is all about, it's time to dive into the first module, an introduction to VR in STEM education. In this opening lesson, we'll explore what virtual reality is, how it works, and how it differs from technologies like augmented reality and mixed reality. Let's get started. Segment 1, Definition and Explanation of VR Terminology. Virtual reality, VR, has revolutionized education, particularly in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics disciplines. But what exactly is VR? The primary goal of VR is to enable individuals or groups to engage in sensory motors and cognitive activities within an artificial, digitally created environment. This environment can be entirely imaginary, symbolic, or a simulation of specific aspect of the real world. In other words, VR is an immersive, interactive experience generated by a computer that replicates either a real or imagined setting. Okay, but what does it mean, immersion and interactions? Is it like the sense of presence? Segment 2, Immersion, Interaction, and Sense of Presence. Immersion in VR translates the range of sensory feedback or motor capture that can be applied to the user. The level of immersion is determined by the quantity and quality of sensory feedback and motor captures. The concept of immersion quality depends on all the senses, and there is a variety of equipment available to simulate the user's senses. Interaction in VR is the behavior required from the user in order to perform actions in the virtual environment. In other words, it's about what task I want the students to perform and how they will interact. Presence. Presence is dependent on the individual's engagement with virtual reality. It is defined as the feeling of being there, physically, in the virtual environment. It's a psychological state where the user perceives the surroundings environment as real, forgetting the role of technology in the experience. Presence can be broken down into 4 subcategories: personal or physical presence, the psychological perception of being there in the virtual environment, Whitmer's finger in 1998. Social presence or co-presence, perception of being in the presence of or interacting with someone else, Gero et al., 2003. Environmental presence, the perception that the environment can be altered based on the user's actions. Presence represents one of the key objectives of the virtual reality experience, but it's only possible with sufficient immersion and sufficiently believable experience. So let's come back to the definition. VR is an immersive, interactive experience generated by a computer that replicates either real or imagined settings. It typically involves the use of VR headsets that cover your eyes and ears, effectively blocking out the real world and replacing it with a virtual one. Segment 3, Overview of VR hardware and software. Let's talk about the hardware and software that make VR possible. There are several popular VR headsets on the market, including the Oculus Rift, HTC Vive, PlayStation VR, and the more affordable Oculus Quest. Each has its own strengths and weaknesses, but all provide a solid VR experience. VR headsets track your head movements and adjust the image you see accordingly, creating a sense of presence in the virtual environment. Some advanced VR systems also use hand controllers and body tracking to allow you to interact with virtual objects naturally. On the software side, VR applications are available for various platforms, including PC, gaming, consoles, and mobile device. Platforms like Steam VR, Meta, Oculus Store, Google Play offer a wide range of VR experiences, from educational simulation to interactive games. Conclusion. In this lesson, we've covered the basics of virtual reality, the hardware, software, and everything that make it possible, and how it differs from augmented reality and mixed reality. In the next lessons, we'll dive into the specific benefits of VR in education and how it can transform your STEM classroom. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson.